If you thought the last challenge was hard, just wait until you see this week's challenge. Boris, Master of Life and Death. Boris is a unique lich that you might encounter in the mid to late game. He typically hangs out in the vaults, crypt, tomb, depths, or elven halls. Boris is a rather unique. After you kill him, there's a 1 in 6 chance that on any new floor you visit, one of the monsters that spawn will be replaced with Boris. I think that makes him the lichiest lich in Crawl. In popular fantasy settings, liches are immortal undead that keep themselves alive via powerful necromancy. Although undead, they are able to continually regenerate their physical form even after complete destruction. The only way to permanently kill a lich is to find their phylactery, which contains their mortal essence, and destroy it. There are no phylacteries in Crawl though, at least that we can encounter. The assumption, I guess, is that Boris's phylactery is hidden somewhere the player will never find. I guess you could argue that the regular unnamed liches regenerate as well. Maybe every lich in the game is just the same guy? I guess that doesn't make any sense, because you can have multiple liches on the same screen, so probably not. Boris isn't a particularly scary enemy, generally less dangerous than an ancient or dread lich, but the fact that he generates a lot earlier in the game makes him something to watch out for. His spell list is pretty devastating, with a standout spell being Orb of Destruction, capable of two-shotting any unlucky character with its massive 90-18 damage. Here's 2 fun Boris facts for you. Examination text of the removed Unran Dagger Morgue reveals a link between Boris and Natasha. It suggests that Natasha was once Boris's familiar, who was abandoned when the latter got lost looking for the orb. Boris has a pretty good chance of making an appearance during the orb run if you've killed him previously. If you do see him, he will have haste and brilliance, so that might be something to consider when deciding whether to kill him or leave him alone. If it's not obvious from what's on the screen right now, all this information is from the wiki, which I link to in all my videos. Thank you to the wiki team for keeping this great resource alive and running. So, what is the Boris challenge? We'll be playing as a mummy today, which just by itself is a challenge run. Mummies do have a lot of good things going for them. They're immune to torment, resistant to negative energy, cold resistant, they get 25% piety gain from gods, and they get inherent necromancy spell enhancements. That all sounds great, but what's the catch? They're vulnerable to fire, they have awful skill aptitudes, and the most devastating of all, they can't drink potions. Oh, this is just great. My last challenge I couldn't read scrolls, and this challenge I can't drink potions. I'm afraid this challenge is gonna break me. I've never played a mummy before, so we'll have to learn as we go. I'm expecting this to take many attempts to get right. So what about our background? We'll be playing as a conjurer. Not the most powerful start, but it's not terrible, and the spells you get are halfway decent for the early game. With bad spell aptitudes though, I'm afraid we won't be able to get both Mystic Blast and Prism online. I think we'll have to pick one or the other to train to avoid spreading ourselves too thin. Now what about our god choice? Well, it's up to us this time. We actually get a free choice here. We can worship any god that we want. The challenge authors make some recommendations: Ash, Gozag, Rue, Vehumit, and Kiku. I'm going to take a quick guess as to why each of these gods might be recommended. For Ash, it's obviously because Ash is just generally strong, and the curses can make up for our awful skill aptitudes. Gozag, I'm guessing because of the potion petition. It's important to note that potion petition is not the same thing as drinking potions, so mummies are allowed to get potion effects this way. This can be critical for clearing confusion, which mummies have a difficult time doing without access to curing potions. For Rue is just a generally strong god and offers a way to get mana back on demand with draw out power. Mummies do have a hard time getting mana on demand because they can't drink potions of magic. Apocalypse is also just an incredible ability that can help you clear screens of dangerous foes. Vehumit, I'm gonna imagine, is useful because of refunding mana on kills. As I mentioned earlier, mummies need a way to solve the mana problem, and Vehumit offers a passive way to do that. Kiku, I'm gonna guess Kiku could be strong if you pivot into necromancy, which is probably a good idea as a mummy caster. The 2 inherent necromancy enhancers you get as a mummy are nothing to sneeze at, and Kiku offers you a way to guarantee having access to spells that can use them. It is a little unfortunate that some of the best gods for mummies just don't benefit at all from their inherent faith gain bonus. Ash, Gozag, and Rue, they all have their own piety systems that just aren't affected by faith. Rue does offer sacrifices quicker if you have faith, so there's a benefit there, but it just doesn't do anything for you once you have max piety. Other gods I could see myself going with are Che and Sif Muna. Che can help us get powerful spells online with massive stat gain, and their abilities are pretty useful in a pinch. Sif Muna offers us a way to gain mana on demand, and we can also cast high-level spells without needing to train our terrible skill aptitudes. Overall, I think I'm probably just going to go with the first aforementioned god that I see and hope it works out. Okay, let's take a look at our conducts. Number 1, Lich. Collect at least 6 runes over as many games as you require. They don't need to be obtained in the same game or consecutive games, and they don't need to be different runes. Points will be applied to your best game. If you win the game, you earn these points automatically. This conduct isn't actually relevant to us because we'll be submitting a winning game, but I like the flavor of the challenge being that each Boris run you do is the same character, just being reincarnated. Number 2, Armor. Don't wear heavy armor, ER of 5 or more, while you have a shield equipped. You can alternate between having a shield and wearing heavy armor as much as you want, as long as you don't have both at the same time. The difficulty of this conduct is going to be entirely dependent on what kind of gear we find. Unfortunately, this restriction excludes anything heavier than leather if we want to use a shield, which is most armors. I'm going to be pretty disappointed if we end up with a character that wants to wear pearl scales and has a good shield. Number 3, Magic. Have at least 2 of the following spells memorized with fail rates of 10% or less. Orb of Destruction, Ozacubu's Refrigeration, and Bombard. You can have LCS instead of Bombard and or MCC instead of Ozacubu's Refrigeration, but they still need to be 10% fail or less. This conduct shouldn't be too hard to follow. Whenever there's one of these challenges, I like to try to build my character around them. Otherwise, it's just an experience tax, which doesn't seem to fit the spirit of the challenge for me. Also, with our bad skill aptitudes, we can't afford much skill tax in the first place. I do like how this conduct gives us alternate options, and all these spells are pretty good, so it won't be a waste to train them. Bonuses. Bonus number 1, Master of Life and Death. Reach level 27 in fighting and any magic school, including spellcasting. Okay, just an experience tax. At least these skills are going to be useful at almost any point in the game, and we have good aptitudes for these. Number 2, Antique Collector. Win the game with the figurine of a ziggurat in your inventory. Oh boy. Well, there's 2 ways to obtain a figurine of a ziggurat. You can either find one in the final levels of Tomb, or you can get one by clearing all 27 floors of a ziggurat. I'm not actually certain which of these is going to be easier at the moment, but because we have Torment immunity, I think going with Tomb is going to be the easier path forward. It looks like we're going to be doing some extended this run, so buckle in.